Well, the goal compliments Rashid Williams just on the stroke of halftime. Definitely not telling the story of the first half, but the BDF Sports program, they won't mind. They go into the break 1-0 over Silver Sands as we welcome back our host, Martin Paris.
Thanks, Amber. I'm not so sure whether or not I'm spoiled of having seen a better Silver Sands team than I'm seeing on the field at the moment, and B, a definitely better Barbados Defence Force sports program. The likes of the Eric Levines and others who would have played the trade in the Defence Force sports program in the early days, and even as recently as probably 5 years ago. You wonder sometimes whether or not the same criteria for getting into the program exists. Certainly you're wondering whether or not now the team is based at the Garrison because they're running up and down like race horses. They're surely not showing the magnitude of accuracy and marksmanship of those who are associated when the team, Nicholas, was based at Paragon. Likewise, it's a David and Goliath scenario here with the Silver Sands, obviously second to the ball, smaller in terms of size, content to hit on the counter, no real bite in their bark, but when they did get the opportunities on the counter, they showed some worth.
Well, we saw it as a David and Goliath encounter from the first whistle. On paper, because of the distance, the point difference between these two teams, and also the history in the Premier League with these two teams as well. But we didn't really see that in the passages of play in the first half, but we saw it with how the goals scored for Defence Force, because it was a quite unclassy bit of goalkeeping from the goalkeeper lane, and he had been very, very good for the entire first half, but just at the end a bit of nonsense allowed BDF to score, and that in itself showed the gulf in class between these two sides.
You play football from whistle to whistle and not for a time period, because that 1 minute more, and that was the difference between clean sheet and giving up a soft goal after basically answering everything or most of what the Barbados Defence Force sports program had to offer. Well, it's halftime. It's 0-0 in the opening encounter of the Barbados Football Association Sunday Night Football Premier League show. BDF Sports Program 1 compliments a goal from Rashid Williams just on the stroke of halftime. We'll be back with more coverage after these messages.
Sneakerheads, that is the place to be. If you like enough sneakers, then you better follow me. Sneakerheads, for you and me. Mall 54 in the middle of down Broad Street. Name and name brand shoes. Sneakerheads, them got it. Prices like the sizes for everybody pocket. Open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Company at around 8:30. Call 537-SHOE. That is 537-7463. Sneakerheads, that is the place to be. If you like enough sneakers, then you better follow me. Sneakerheads, for you and me. Mall 54 in the middle of down Broad Street.
Easy Pay Hardware, taking care of all your household needs, if you please. #1 hardware store around. Easy Pay, we have something for everyone. Easy Pay, building or maintenance, we can help. We are open every day, so it makes good sense to visit Easy Pay Hardware, taking care of all your household needs, if you please. Where you going? Easy Pay Hardware.
When we are some Johnny Walker, drinking some fire water. When we are some Johnny Walker, drinking some fire water. With a bunch in 3-0, when we are some Johnny Walker. Pick up our drinkers in at this place right now. I got all of that yellow wine while I'm drinking some fire water. Energy got me feeling so high.
Barbados Football Association's Sunday Night Football Premier League show. I am your host, Martin Paris, alongside Nicholas Maitland and his co-host, Anmar Goodrich Boyce. I got it right because I looked at my notes. What I'm looking at now is a halftime score of 1-0 for the Barbados Defence Force Sports Program against Silver Sands. The goal coming just on the stroke of halftime from a header for a very fortunate Rashid Williams, because the one blemish in the entire first half by the Silver Sands keeper Gabriel Lane was the inability to either hold his line or come and claim that ball in his area. Ended up missing it, and a free header for the BDF Sports Program to go ahead. And yes, they may have been 1 goal better than Silver Sands, but they weren't dominant as it could have been, because for every 2 punches they offered, there was a counter punch to show that Silver Sands was still in the game, Nicholas.
Yes, definitely. And Silver Sands, they came about their business very casually as well. They were very calm on the ball, and I think it startled BDF at first, and BDF even played the game at Silver Sands' tempo, and BDF don't normally play the ball, even though they can. They don't normally play the ball very slowly. They have a quick tempo about themselves, and my pass goes flying in this wind. They have a quick tempo about themselves, BDF, and it was very uncharacteristic of them to be so slow in their build-up. But when they really got going and they utilized the left wing immensely, they used that wing till they couldn't use it anymore, and that is where they got their joy. And as I said, the free kick at the end of the half was very uncanny of the goalkeeper, but BDF definitely now will up the tempo to where they normally keep it and probably push for a much bigger score.
There's two schools of thought. If you come and you want to park that neon green bus and hope to hit them on the counter, it's a case of, are you going to be sitting and looking to mark zone and be conservative in your attack, or are you going to mark the men? Because what the BDF was doing, as we recognized earlier, they moved their number 19, Raheem Sargent, from the right attacking flank in the early exchanges to the left portion of the attack later in the game. And to the credit of the Silver Sands team and their coach, Sion Brathwaite, he kept screaming, cover, 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 because they weren't actually sending a man to track him while he was running, but there was someone coming over to help shut him down after he made that telling run or two through off the ball.
And Silver Sands, they do work on their defense, and I think the defense was very good in the first half. They blocked everything that came towards them. Nicholas Cooper, for example, was very good against Sargent when he switched over. But ultimately, even though the goalkeeper was very good, he let the team down. But the defense, they get back quickly and they put a lot of bodies back. And I think that in turn hurt their attacking transition to the attack was very laborious, because they didn't really get a lot of players forward. But the defense was very admirable for the first 45. It's a pity that they can't go in with the scores at 0-0 at halftime. But the defense will now hopefully take less of center stage, because now the attackers are the ones now, the Gale forwards especially, are the ones now who have to take the game now to BDF Sports Program, and hopefully they can make themselves proud.
The thing about it is, when you have a coach like a Sion Brathwaite, or before him a Horace Beckles, defenders in their own right, robust defenders, how do they translate what I gave attackers as trouble and what attackers gave me as a defender trouble to the players, so that they can actually, display and exhibit some good class football? Otherwise, it's like they don't call it cricket, they would call it bat and ball. I can't remember what, kickball. it wouldn't be football anymore. It would be kickball. How did the coaches, translate what gave them trouble and what caused them to give trouble to these players so that they can execute on match day?
Well, in terms of coaching, I think that coaches need to give the players a bit more responsibility and confidence on the pitch. Yes, I understand that as a coach you want to, firstly from the touchline during games, you want to bark instructions and you want to make sure that your team are always precise on the tactics. But sometimes I think you have to let the guys think about it for themselves, because I think that's the best way to learn the game, when you can play the game, make mistakes, and then learn from your mistakes. But I think in terms of tactics, a lot of the coaches employ, I wouldn't say they employ kickball tactics, but I think that the way they train their teams, I think passing should be a big part of training. Shooting the ball should be a big part of training. Players know how to run with the ball. Players know how to dribble with the balls. Players would go off on their own and learn all the tricks and whatnot. I think it's the passing, it's the running off the ball, especially transitions.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Nicholas, because there were quite a few periods in time where, unfortunately, when Silver Sands was defending, their attackers switched off and they didn't come back into the spaces and expect that their teammates are going to win the ball. And therefore, my next phase is to be in a good position to receive it, to start the counter-attack or the genuine attack. And likewise, when the attackers lost the ball, the defenders were either conservative and not joining the attack to give it strength and width, or, oh shoot, now we have to, the other team has the ball, and that 2 seconds of indecision was the difference between the couple of attempts. They did have a bright spark. That free kick that was taken early, which for a hungrier and braver attacker would have given Primus some trouble in the goal. A quickly taken free kick by Silver Sands caught the complacent Defence Force Sports Program backline, who has been bullying their way and overpowering the slighter and slenderer attackers from Silver Sands. The 50-50 balls became 80-20 whenever the Defence Force player went up for the ball or went in for the tackles. Couple of free kicks resulted out of those exchanges. But as it is now, the officials are back on the field. Time to take a quick break. And when we come back, the second half, Barbados Defence Force Sports Program 1, Silver Sands 0. We'll be back after this message.
Sneakerheads, that is the place to be. If you like enough sneakers, then you better follow me. Sneakerheads, for you and me. Mall 54 in the middle of down Broad Street. Name and name brand shoes. Sneakerheads, them got it. Prices like the sizes for everybody pocket. Open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Company at around.
But there's not a player marked 25 on my list. So the fourth official will eventually tell me who's the number 25. So 27 for 8. So they 27 for 8. So, and here comes another substitution. A rather strange tactic indeed. Never seen before anywhere in football. But apparently it's just a case of the wrong numbers being submitted for these substitutions. You haven't missed any football as yet. There's no 25 on my list, and I got mine as they kick off the game. Second half going. I'll hold the fort until Amar gets back alongside Nicholas Maitland. But is that some sort of psychological tactic there, Nicholas? Introducing players who are not on the list to come onto the field of play?
I'm not sure, or delaying the start of the second half for sure. So I'm not sure if it's a tactic or not.
Yes, I know you can't take the field of play until you actually indicate through the fourth official that a substitution has been made. You can't quite like declare your hand in cricket during the tea break or the lunch break. There must be some official display of the substitution being made by the fourth official. However, there's a number 25 by the name of Ronaldo Bailey, and the game will be halted yet again. This number 4 number.
That is Trim.
Oh, well. So, Trim definitely off, and Ronaldo Bailey replacing him. And I believe it was Omani Leacock that was originally substituted and not substituted. Who knows? Apparently the executioner's noose didn't fall on him. Eventually we will get it all sorted out for you folks. I hope this one doesn't reduce itself into a yawner. It has the potential of opening up as the same way the first half started, a bit of lack of cohesion and rhythm. The BDF tightly wound up, not really flowing as yet. But they're sitting with the 1-goal cushion, content enough to force an error rather than prize open the gap against the Silver Sands. What a silly action by Shaquille Brown, who deliberately handles a ball and is pleading with the ref that he's got a player who's down, and the player is crawling off of the field, and that happens to be Raheem Sargent. Spared from being given a yellow card for stupidity, as I make way, Nicholas, for the return of the Anmar.
Thank you very much, Martin. A number of changes for the BDF Sports program. Total change in formation. They've switched to a 4-3-3 now, Nick. Bringing in the services of national captain Rashad Jules, his national colleague Ronaldo Bailey, allowing the right back Rashad Smith some allowance to get up the field. So a change up for the sports program in an effort to get a couple of goals here in the second half. No changes yet for Silver Sands as they trail by the odd goal here. Just 4 minutes gone in the first half. We have a delay